So morning, just out on my morning walk, about 5:20 or something. Yeah, and I've got a new mic here because when it's windy, it's no good, and it's a little digi mini. So I don't know. I'll experiment and see if it sounds any better. And yeah, it was quite good this morning in the sense that I woke up, it was, Saturday morning, gone to bed about 9:30, crashed out because I was so tired, and then I was up about 3:30, 4. Felt pretty good when I woke up, and there's this aspect where, I had some insights from some things that I'd been doing this week. It's like the kind of week, or the last couple of weeks' efforts. And I woke up, I had my coffee and that, and I was kind of sitting at the computer thinking about writing my book. And I just had these kind of some realizations, which I often have in the early mornings. But it was really helpful for me, and I guess it kind of fits with the mental health awareness week theme of action and understanding things and an awareness, but then taking action to change things and test things out and all of this. And what I was thinking about is, like, previously I've applied for courses or I've applied for jobs and things, and sometimes I've got on them and then I've seen what it's like and changed my mind, or with jobs, just the process of applying for the job, the action that you take, helps you to kind of research that area of that job role, helps you to formulate your ideas, reflect on your experiences, make connections with people, and learn from that, understand what's going on better, decide if that's what you want, consider, in the process of doing so, does that fit with your life philosophy? Does that fit with what you're passionate about? What's the experience going to be like of that? Is that what you actually want? Other factors as well, like, are your passionate, relatively highly motivated efforts appreciated in the, say, for example, in the NHS, for example, sometimes they might be, other times the system itself and how it's operating is not going to match. And also there's this aspect of considering, like, can you do more? Can you create more? Can you have a bigger impact if you do things yourself? And I'm really considering that aspect moving forward, and there's this aspect of, where do you decide to put your efforts? Where do you decide to put your energy and focus? I think that's really important. And also this aspect of, taking actions and then you learn from them, and it's a little bit like, well, it's not always helpful to, there's a fox carrying a rabbit, but we've missed it. But yeah, a fox running up the road with a rabbit. Well, happy days for that fox, not so happy days for the rabbit. But there's this aspect of learning from taking action, even if it doesn't have the potentially you might have thought or you had this desired result. Oh, there's a dead rabbit, a little one there, unfortunately. That's probably the fox at the baby rabbit's nest or something. Anyway, yeah, so you learn from the process, even if you don't have the perceived desired results that you might have been thinking about at one point in that process. You know, oh, I want that job, or let's go for it, I can do that. But in the process of doing it, it might be over quite a short period of time. You think, no, I don't really want that job. Maybe I don't like the culture in certain areas, and maybe I don't like the politics of it all. Maybe I need to do something for myself and for the wider public, myself, or the reorientation of your goals and what you actually find important or not sometimes, and what's feasible or not in certain systems. And there was Stephen Bartlett. I was watching one of his podcasts, and he said something about how one of his what he did is he went to Germany to one of his company's headquarters, or and I think he said there was something like 150 employees there or something. And he tried to, he said, I thought I'll go over there and I'll change the culture. And he said he put in quite max efforts himself, and he said there was no chance of changing the culture in that office in Germany, and it was all set in its ways. So there is this aspect where, what do you have control over? Where are your energies best placed? And how do you problem solve things? And when do you call a day on forging ahead within that? When did he decide to say, you know what, this is not a good idea? So it's good to take action, learn from it, and then pick yourself up very fast, reorientate yourself, think about what you've learned from it, and then take further action based on what you decide. So it's a process of taking action, learning from it, getting the new information, doing a little bit of reflection, having a sleep, waking up and going, you know what? And learning from everybody, learning from everything you do, everybody you meet, everything you read, everything you listen to, and taking from it little bits of gems, and thinking about how it applies to what you're doing or trying to do. And it's okay to reorientate yourself and change your goals a little bit, I think. And there is this aspect where, I'm very passionate about the NHS idea, and possibly coming from my, background, generally as like a working class poverty upbringing, and this idea of, the generic philosophy that exists about, within the NHS anyway, you'd like to think, but is that the reality on the ground? Is that what's actually happening in the NHS? Sometimes I don't know, and it can be a little bit like, well, but yeah. So I guess this theme of action, and without taking action to say apply for those jobs recently, and seeing what happened with those, you don't get a flavour for what that would be like. You don't get kind of that experience of researching it all and looking at it all and looking at the politics of it all and thinking, is this what I want to spend the next 20, 30 years doing? Do I want to become part of all of that, or is there things that I could do more effectively? How's that gonna be experienced? You can in therapy sometimes we might do like what they call a flash forward technique in EMDR, and what you do is you kind of think about being in that situation, and then you do some processing on it, and you think about how you're going to manage it well and all this, yeah. But you can do that with all sorts of things, so you can just think about it, and think about what's that going to be like, that experience of doing that. Is that what I want or not? And do I want to spend my time doing politics? That's not really, by the look of it, getting patient outcomes sometimes, this strange corporate world of things. Would I have more efficacy if I had my own company, which I've had before and stuff, but would I be able to shape things as I see fit? The likelihood that is, that would be not wasted efforts, and that it would be clear whether or not things had been effective, and I'd have to be accountable for that or not, so there's all of these things where it's like, well, there's many ways around things, and there is this aspect where I have this fantasy sometimes that I always think fantasies are good and visualization is good, and who's to say what happens? So I sometimes think it'd be really nice to make significant amount of money to be able to be a bit of a philanthropist, and it'd be lovely to be able to effect change, and not be in the alternate position of asking for money to do things from people that then decide whether or not to give it you or not. Say in the charity sector, it's kind of a little bit like, well, if you make your own money and then you decide who gets some money as well, you're the decision maker on who gets the money and why, which would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I'm sure that would be an enjoyable existence at a later time in life of helping people to do things they're passionate about to help others. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Rather than them stressing about that, kind of facilitate people helping others when they're willing to do that, and they just need a bit of resource sometimes. But a lot of deep thinking today. It's amazing what happens after you wake up after a sleep sometimes, and it's like this reorientation. It's like I was looking, say, in that direction, for example, at this tree, and thinking that was the goal, and in a loose fashion maybe. Then actually, after a sleep and lots of action and reflection, it's now become, for example, that tree over there, which is still a tree, but it's a different one. If that makes sense. And that's okay, so, but the whole thing requires action. Progress is made through action in things, trying things out, reflecting on it, and then learning from that experience. And then sometimes not dwelling on things for too long. I could be overtly upset about the idea of not getting the certain rules or something, but there's some geese there. But I'm not actually. It's a non-issue in some ways. It's like it served its purpose applying for it all, because I looked into it all and I considered being in that position, and I considered what it involved, and I did my, and I looked at things, and I looked at my capabilities, and I thought, I am able to do that now, but there seems to be other factors at play that's not all about capability. And am I interested in getting involved in that, you know? So, yeah, it's helpful to take action, reflect on it, recommit to new action, reorientate yourself to your goals, think about what's helpful for you or not, what you want to do. But yeah, so I'm out on the walk. Hopefully the mic's a wee bit better. We'll test it and see now. Busy kind of day ahead in some ways, but the day's what you make of it. Do what you want and get the outcomes from that or not. Have a good one.